I believe I could fly. I believe I could touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Kicking Zavok's ass almost every day. I believe I can soar, because this is my favorite world. And welcome back to part 6. And yes, I can't sing for shit. But major note for those following back home, I did some off-screen animal grinding in the circuses, because I didn't want to get into the same situation that I almost did in the last part. So make sure you have 4,000 animals before you get to Zone 4 of Skyroad, or else you're going to have to, you know, do a bit more grinding. But who wants to see that, right? So I'm back, and this is, as I said before, this is actually my favorite world. Granted, I kind of say that because the first 2 acts are my favorite levels in the game when it comes to 3D and 2D. For example, this stage right here is my personal favorite in the game, hands down. More or less it's because the 3D platforming is terrific, and there's so much exploration and different paths you can take, along with it really feels like a fast-paced level as well. There's lots of speed added to it. Now with this right here, I'm going to show that secret Easter egg I was talking about with the waiting animations. Like, look at that! Who would have ever thought to just stand still during that free-falling section? Like, to be honest, I didn't find that secret out by myself. A friend actually told me about it. But that's just something a little neat, something that Sega threw in the game. Anyways, we got giant caterpillars here, and you can actually defeat these guys in one hit. All you have to do is just get a good charged homing attack on them, and then proceed to kick them really quickly, like that. And I love the head animation as it goes flying off in the distance. It's pretty funny. But yeah, like I was saying before, this is my personal favorite level just because it's such a good blend of 3D platforming and speed. Like here we got one of those on-running sections. And I always recommend going to the dark side of the planet. There's these brown checkerboard sections, because they actually, I think, tend to give you more rings than the other sections. But you have to deal with a little bit more spike traps, I believe, as well. But we go all the way. We don't suffer. We don't care about the risks. I love the music as well. It kind of reminds me of a mix or blend between Hot Shots Golf and Klonoa, for those who've played the original PlayStation 1, or the remake. I mean the remake. A remake, sorry. You see what I did there? Remake. But yeah, it kind of has that kind of feel to it, the Klonoa kind of music feel. So right here we pretty much have a choice of either taking the Eagle Wisp or freaking wall running on waterfalls. I think the answer is rather obvious what's cooler and gets more style points. And real men freaking wall run on waterfalls. No one takes the Eagle Wisp. No offense to people that did. But yeah, even though this level is just essentially Windy Hill Zone in the sky, it's an upgrade in my opinion. It doesn't hold your hand as much as it shouldn't. This is like the second last world in the game, so it should be pretty intense. We got the crazy suicidal sheep right here. They'll do anything to kill Sonic. You know, level design like this is pretty much what encouraged people to think that this was some sort of Sonic Extreme reboot. Which I don't blame people for thinking, because back when trailers were first shown for this game, I would have to slightly agree. But when you're playing the game and you see a lot of the gimmicks and the aspects of this, we can't deny that it's a lot like Super Mario Galaxy, guys. Let's be honest here. Granted, yes, I have played Sonic Adventure 2. I have played Mad Space, the Rouge treasure hunting stage, which, yes, did borrow some similar elements. But do you really think they would bring it back over a decade later just for the lulz? You know, there had to be some inspiration there. And oh my gosh, I almost completely forgot to mention this. I'm fighting a mini-boss right now. And this boss actually, sadly enough as it is, took me longer to figure out than most of the Deadly Six members, which is actually pretty sad. But basically, you just have to bounce back his bullets right at him. But that's a pretty cool little fun thing added to this level. You see, I love it. Anyways, yeah, for example, that section right here, going back to the Super Mario Galaxy, that's exactly like a section where Mario would spin on the, what are they called? The spin stars? The sling stars? Yeah, the sling stars. And he'd be flying throughout the stage, and it would load up the next section of the level. Pretty much exactly what it is when Sonic's hitting against the springs, you know, and then going to the next planet. And there's just similar aspects, and it works in some cases for Sonic, you know? But alas, we are coming across the end of this level. Unfortunately. Truly my personal favorite level, as I said before, just because it has exploration, speed, platforming, all mixed together in one blend that is Skyroad. Not to be confused with Rainbow Road, because that's a completely different series entirely. I love it. Orbot and Cubot. I love Orbot out of the two personally, just because he's a sarcastic asshole to Eggman, like right now. Orbot was actually first introduced in Unleashed, if I remember correctly, but he had a different, completely different color scheme. He was gray and he had like a pink mouth or teeth. Well, this one has blue now, as you see. And then in colors, that's when Eggman decided to give him a paint job with a red and black color scheme, which I personally believe looks pretty cool. And of course, Cubot would later be introduced in Sonic colors. Cubot and Orbot are pretty much the Scratch and Grounder, or the Biku and Doku. What were their names from Sonic X, those two robots? I forgot. It's been ages since I watched them, but yeah, they're similar to that. Anyways, we have the big boy Zavok. To quote FTA from findthecomputerroom.com, the more that I look at this guy's character design, the more that I start to appreciate it. I mean, let's be honest here, he definitely shares a few resemblances to a certain King Turtle Dragon thing. But, you know, it's pretty interesting. His mouth looks like it's been through a freaking shredder. And of course, with your generic evil laughter, ja 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 ja. But yes, this is my favorite 2D level in the whole game. It's not my favorite level, but my favorite 2D level, which is actually saying a lot. This thing is really, really intense. Basically, Zavok... Whoa! Okay. Calm down, Sonic. That never happened to me before. I guess you see something new every day, don't you? Like I was saying before, Zavok pretty much jacks all of Eggman's unused dragon robots. Or maybe he made them himself, since they kind of share a similar color scheme to Zavok. But anyways, basically you have to get up these platforms while the dragon robots try to knock you off. And I love the concept of it. And it works really well. Like, look at this. You can pretty much spin dash up this robot. Freaking awesome. And I love the music in this level as well. It's my second favorite track if it wasn't for Tropical Coast Act 3. This would probably be the next runner-up. I love it. Now, despite this being my favorite 2D stage in the game, unfortunately, it's actually one of the shortest as well. Like, come on. Granted, I really like the concept of what they were trying to go with in terms of this level. And I love it. It works perfectly. The only other thing I could ask for is that I wish it was longer. Be free, animals! And I ended up killing them instead. Well, some of them had wings. You know, we could just call it a Sonic 2 thing. Every time we release animals over the sky, they somehow make it to land. Let's just assume that. But let's finish this off right here, and let's take on Zavok's first phase. Now, this boss fight isn't exactly challenging, but you know what? I actually find it more enjoyable than any other boss fight we've encountered so far. And there's actually two ways you can defeat him. I'm going to show you both ways, and you can judge accordingly what's faster. So here's the first part, the first way. I call it the get up on the Hydra's back method. And basically you have to do homing attack chains in order to reach Zavok at the end of his dragon. You just have to watch out for lasers, and it's pretty straightforward. However, the second method is it's way faster. And I don't think Sega intended us gamers to do it, because it goes by pretty quickly. So once again, you hit the end of the tail, and you just do a bounce attack up here. Okay, one more time. Okay, there. And LOL, cheat codes. Yeah, I don't think Sega wanted us to do it like that. But regardless, it's pretty cool. Two different ways to defeat a boss fight. And like I said before, it's not exactly challenging. But you know, it was actually pretty fun in my opinion. If anything else. So we got two great back-to-back stages. My favorite 3D level and 2D level respectively for Acts 1 and 2. And now we got some more Orbot and Cubot action. Actually, at the time of this recording, they just announced that these guys are going to be appearing in Sonic Boom as well. However, they haven't released the character design, so I don't know if they're going to make Cubot like an octagon shape or something. Or make Cubot like 10 feet tall, I don't know. Or maybe they're just going to keep them, you know, their regular designs. Hopefully they do that. Because I don't know how much further you can go with something like that. But who knows. Now remember that bonus level in Tropical Coast? Well, it's back! Yeah! Well, to be honest, to give this level credit, this version is way better. There's a lot more death traps and a lot more memorable enemy placements. And there's just a lot more going on in general. But this time, keep in mind that you have to find red rings this time. So make sure you just drop down accordingly. Kind of gets annoying towards the end of the stage, as you'll see. But you should be okay if you know what you're aiming for. You know, I hate to sound like a broken record. This once again reminds me of Donkey Kong Country Returns. With the rocket barrel stages. Except where it's the opposite. This time you're holding to go down. And in that game, you just had to hold to go up. Basically, this was Flappy Bird before it was cool, ladies and gentlemen. Even though it was done way before in multiple other games. I can't even count. These guys from Sonic 2. But yeah, Sega's had a auto-scrolling sky fetish ever since 1992 of Sonic 2 on the Genesis. And granted, it is iconic, and we see it a lot in some of the recent games. Like Sonic 4 Episode 2, for example. They reused it then. But I guess this adds a little twist to it with the free falling. Well, speaking of new, here's some egg pawns. Well, I don't know, can I say it's new? Since their first appearance was in Heroes. And that came out a decade ago, like literally 2004. Can I call that new anymore? Man, does time fly? But yeah, back to the subject of those egg pawns. I personally believe Sega also has like a fetish over those enemies as well, because they reuse it in a lot of other Sonic games, to the point where they cover a lot of screen time. It's actually a pretty minor in this game in comparison. They only make a few appearances in some levels. But now we're coming across another mini-boss. Skyroad is just chock full of them, both with Act 1 and 3. So we pretty much fight a boss in every level in this world. But it's pretty simple. It's basically this big puffer fish again. We just gotta reflect the missiles back right at him. Pretty simple. Watch me clip through this puffer fish. But it's actually very similar to Sonic 4 Episode 2 with the Metal Sonic boss fight. Except in that boss fight, you can eventually get through the level just by dodging his attacks and not reflecting the missiles back at him. Unlike with this boss fight, where you need to do so in order to progress. And we also got a little bit of the timer towards the end of that stage. I forgot to mention, this game also has a classic timer similar to the classic 2D Sonic games. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess it kind of encourages you to go faster. But then again, if you're just trying to take your time and explore, it could be somewhat annoying. So, personally, it doesn't affect me because I tend to go through the levels pretty quickly. And here's some more CG destruction that Sega craves. Honestly, that Mountain Dew machine is taking a freaking while to destroy the world. Oh, and also some more Amy melodrama I do not wish to hear. Actually, another fun fact. Unleashed is just the king of introducing new things that are now in modern day Sonic games. But that doodad that Sonic's carrying right now, that Tails invented, the first appearance was also in Unleashed. You know what would be cool? If the Wii U gamepad had a design like that. Then you can pretend like you're Tails. Wouldn't that be kind of sick? I think so. Anywho, here's the last act of Skyroad. And I really wish the majority of this level was 3D. And I think I would appreciate it more if it was. But it's pretty 50-50. You know, there's some good elements and gameplay designs thrown in here. But let me just say, I'll give this level the credit of having a really good atmosphere. Especially if you have surround sound playing. Like, you can hear the freaking thunderstorms along with Zavok's menacing voice and his threats. It kind of gives you a small chill down your spine as you're progressing through the level. Of course, Zavok is the serious person of the Deadly Six. So he doesn't screw around. I mean, when Zavok tells Sonic to lay down and die, I don't think he means it in the polite way. And do my eyes deceive me? That's the Sonic Adventure 2 ghost. Even more enemy references. But we definitely ain't in no Pumpkin Hill. Well, this kind of reminds me of Sonic Adventure 2 as well, with the sand sliding towards the end of the final stage, and when we had to get to the bio lizard. Well, we're kind of doing that already with Zavok, right? He kind of looks like a big lizard. And sadly, these are the only parts we're limited to in terms of 3D. My recommendation here is don't make any sudden movements. Only gently tap left and right on the analog stick when you want to move around. If you hold it for more than 2 seconds, I guarantee you're probably going to fly off the stage. So don't do anything crazy. And now we got even more sand sliding in 2D. I'm going to say this right now, if this doesn't remind you of Labyrinth Zone, I don't know what will. Maybe they're going a little bit too far with the old school references. I'd like to see something a little bit more original. But what ifs? Oh, and we also got the Rhythm Wisp for this level. Even though I don't really need it, to be honest. You don't need it for any red rings, in case you're wondering. Also, something different from colors is that this game restricts you to only one color wisp per level. Some levels don't even have a wisp at all. So, you know, it's kind of interesting, but I would have liked the variety of different wisps in one level. That kind of would have been cool. But I'm no Sega. Oh man, I already have 98 lives. I just need one more to max out with 99. Let's do it! Here's some more sand sliding in 3D, but this time you get a nice view of Sonic's crotch. Nice flashing there, Sonic. Now Zavok actually makes a funny statement about Zor right here, and I like how he tries to mimic him, because he kind of fails at doing it in the process. You know, I think I understand what they were trying to do with all these random lines from the Deadly Six. I think they were trying to replicate what they Sega did in Colors with Eggman. You know how he had the amusement park announcements and he would say something random depending on what part of the level you were in? I think that's what Sonic Team was trying to do with that. This time they want to implement the Deadly Six with their random lines. And in some cases it works, but in my opinion it doesn't quite beat Eggman's amazing lines in Colors, because he had some pretty good one-liners in that game. But here it is, baby, the final stretch before Zavok's final boss fight. And I'm not gonna lie, that it's the first decent boss fight in the game in terms of challenge, but I'll save that when we get to that. Oh, dang it, one up. Whatever, there's sure to be even more on the way. So this part I'm gonna have to concentrate, I'm not gonna lie. This is where the platforming kinda gets really heavy. But here you want to bounce on these trampolines in order to get higher. Oh my gosh, and these yellow sand bricks, they disappear after a while. So make sure you just keep the pace going. Yeah, like I said before, it creates a pretty good atmosphere though. You're just constantly rising up to the tower of whatever this is. Alright, let's just get this bell right here. Oh, dang it, I think I just screwed myself over. Nope. Yes! Okay, never mind. You know, if all these gold blocks reminds me of Catherine, a current puzzle game I'm surprisingly addicted to. You know, I'm not usually into puzzle games that much unless it's something like, you know, Pikmin. I'm kinda into Tetris. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. We ain't playing no Catherine. But it actually does really remind me of that game, especially the way Sonic does his parkour moves and... screw you, Orbonaut. Can't reach me. Anyways, yeah, like I was saying, especially since the way Vincent climbs up the blocks, it's very similar to how Sonic does it right now. So it kind of really reminds me of that game. Anyways, something to note about the Rhythm Wisp, while you don't need it, if you run into a ghost enemy, for example, while you're still in it, you will lose rings, but if, for example, you only have 0 rings, you will not die. So I guess if you just want to easily breeze through this level, you can do that. And I tried to get through that secret path, but you have to be really quick about it. So screw it. I have all the rings I need. I'm not greedy. Alright, now we're coming on to Zavok's final boss phase, I guess, for this world. And yes, it is the first freaking challenging boss in the game. Hallelujah, it only took 6 worlds. Now, what makes this a great boss fight is that you can't just randomly spam the homing attack and expect to win. Like, look, Zavok's already blocking. You have to do a kick and homing attack combo in order to get him. But even by doing that constantly, you still can't win the battle just by doing that alone. And Zavok's really not that quick. You know, bro, I know you lift, but you're not that swift. And look at this right here. I'm going to showcase this real quickly. You can push him into his own lasers. How cool is that? He also does a little jolt. He's like, that's pretty funny. Like, I love how interactive this boss fight is. Actually, it's not that challenging if you know what you're doing, but it actually took me at least 2 to 3 minutes to figure out what you have to do. So basically, just wait for him to block, and then... Well, actually, he's going to do a Velkin punch right here. Lols. Zavok for Smash. Well, actually, a Lost World appears as a map for Smash, but... I'll talk about that later. But anyways, yeah, just wait for him to block, and then do a really supercharged homing attack to knock him off. This is Sonic! Tonight, we dine in Starlight Zone! Sorry guys, I couldn't resist. I mean, especially the way like Zavok was like tilting towards the edge. It was pretty much asking for a 300 reference. But yeah, like I was saying, that was the first challenging boss fight in the game if you don't know what you're doing. The level itself is kind of meh-ish, but at least it ended it off in a good note. So actually, this time I didn't forget, but we also have a bonus world for Skyroad as well. It's the last bonus level. There's only 2 throughout this whole game. As I said before, the first was in Tropical Coast. And the second version, this bonus level we're going to see right here, is actually one of the better ones. Okay, so let's go... where is it? Oh my gosh. Dang it, where is it? Derp. Okay guys, I'm back, and hopefully this worked. All I did was do one circus minigame, and I think this should unlock it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to go out here on a whim, but you probably need 4,500 animals in order to get the stage. You're probably gonna have to do it anyways in order to unlock the final level in the game. But just so you guys know, so this bonus level is actually way better than the first one. It's pretty much the definition of a bonus level with all these lives floating around and all these rings. It's pretty much ring heaven. Now, a fun challenge for those who actually own the game: try to get all the lives in this level without dying. I actually managed to do it once, but it's a nice little challenge, and it is possible. I've done it. But for those who like going to the extreme of actually doing all of that, you know, it's a pretty fun thing to do. You know, at this point, it doesn't really matter for me since I maxed out on lives. I'm just going for them for the lulz. But anyways, if you couldn't tell already, the gimmick of this bonus stage is that, of course, the platforms will disappear the moment you stand on them. And the intensity of this level is to try to collect as much lives, but how much will you risk in order to get them, you know? You have to be really quick in order to do it. And that's why doing the one-up challenge, I'll call it, is pretty fun to do in this level. But for those who just want to blaze through the level, all you have to do is just survive. There's no red rings to worry about like with the last bonus stage. And I love this music too. It feels so fluffy. I don't know, there's no other word I can say to describe it. It just has that genre of bonus level music, I guess you can say. It's the only time you hear this track too. You know, this level's not that long, but I actually think it's slightly longer than Skyroad Act 2. Which is kind of weird. But, you know, this can almost be a normal level in itself. All you have to do is, like, add red rings to it. But I'm really glad Sega decided to throw it in the game. I love all these green blocks. My favorite color. But yeah, you just don't want to wait around, obviously. And now we're coming to the end of it. That was like a nice little relaxing level. Well, actually, some people might not consider it relaxing, but I thought it was some great platforming action. And in 2D, of all things. You know? Anyways, we are done here with this part, guys. We're pretty much on the final stretch. In the next world, be prepared to hear me scream, possibly yell a lot, because we're tackling the final world in the freaking game. For those who've actually played this game, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll see you guys in Lava Mountain Zone, where we take care of the Zeddy for the very last time.